I'm here today planting some bulbs for the fall that'll come up in the spring. I always like to do this because, you plant now, but the fruit of it comes up several months later. It's kind of like working in Congress where you want to plan in advance and see your results, later. But in any case, I always plant bulbs in the fall. They come up in the spring. A bulb is basically a root, and there are several types of flowers that I plant. We're going to start with daffodils, which are the largest bulbs. And what we do is, make a little hole, probably about 6 inches down, and then you place the daffodil bulb in it, about 6 inches, and then you cover it up. And you probably should put some water on top of it. When you're doing the arrangement, I put the daffodils, up in the back, the tulips next, and then the hyacinths and the crocuses up front. But let me talk a little bit about politics and what's happened in Washington while we do that. That was the daffodils. Now we're going to plant a tulip. I've been very concerned about the fact that the Republicans and President Trump are really creating a healthcare crisis and making it more difficult for people to access healthcare and buy insurance because they're eliminating a lot of the subsidies. So in the big ugly bill that was passed, this is a tulip bulb, so we're going to put that in here. That was passed a few months ago. The Republicans really cut back on Medicaid. And as a result, we estimate that millions of people are going to lose their Medicaid coverage, which is primarily paid for by the federal government. The other thing they did is they did not extend the tax credits or subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. And for people who get their health insurance, the Affordable Care Act, depending upon their income, instead of paying something like $100 or $150 a month, they may end up paying $300 or $400 a month, and therefore it becomes unaffordable and they lose their health insurance. So these are the two things that have created the most crisis. Now we're going to put in a hyacinth bulb. Again, you try to put it about 6 inches down if you can, and then you cover up the soil. And put some water on top if you can. So the third thing that's happening is with Robert Kennedy Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary. He's been making it more difficult for people to get vaccines. He really cut back on who was eligible for a COVID vaccine. He said basically you had to be over 65, or if you were under 65, have some kind of a health condition. And also, we think that a lot of insurance companies simply won't cover the COVID vaccine anymore because it's not recommended. So these are all creating this healthcare crisis that's totally unacceptable. So what we as Democrats and myself have been doing is basically saying that we're not voting for any kind of spending bill in Congress unless this health crisis is addressed by that spending bill. And I actually have legislation that I wanted to mention, 2 pieces of legislation. One would simply repeal the Medicaid cuts and bring back the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. And another one would say that people would have access to free vaccines and insurance companies would have to pay for those free vaccines based on the recommendations for COVID and other vaccines prior to Secretary Kennedy and his advisory panels making these bad recommendations to limit vaccines. So we're going to address this healthcare crisis as best we can and fight to protect people's healthcare. And hopefully you'll also learn some lessons here about gardening and planting bulbs, which become so beautiful when they come out in the spring. Thank you so much.